And with that, let's now shift our attention over to protests which began in Minneapolis in the United States and continue to spread across the entire U.S. cities, often turning violent. On your screens, you're going to see visuals from the White House in Washington, D.C., where hundreds of demonstrators gathered earlier. The police fired spray at them to stop them from breaching the White House fence. The clashes between security forces and protesters outside the White House escalated as demonstrators tried to rush past police barricades. The National Guard has been called in to the U.S. Capitol as protesters refuse to disperse.
We can't do anything!
Police vehicles were set ablaze across the U.S. as mobs hit the streets. Nationwide protests began over the police killing of an unarmed black man, George Floyd. Demonstrations continued even as the police officer involved who knelt on Floyd's neck was arrested and charged with murder. Now, protesters have been demanding the arrest of all the officers involved in the murder of George Floyd. Angry protesters returned to the streets of New York even as Mayor Bill de Blasio pleaded for calm after a demonstration in Brooklyn descended into chaos that left several people injured. New York City Mayor urged protesters to go home, saying that violence will not be tolerated. This after several police cars were set ablaze in the city.
But those who are out there simply to create violence, those who are out there to express hatred towards our police officers, we won't tolerate that. If you're out there to commit an act of violence, you're going to get arrested tonight. There are fewer and fewer people out at this point. And those who are engaged in negative, violent activity, they will feel the consequences of that activity.
Protests in Los Angeles turned violent. Riot police could be seen hitting protesters and firing projectiles towards the crowds in an attempt to disperse them. Looters broke into stores on the upscale Melrose Avenue at Los Angeles as the entire city descended into utter chaos. Demonstrations in Chicago were also marred by violence as mobs vandalized high-end shops.
I wanted to be a cop, not anymore!
Meanwhile, rioters were seen looting stores across Philadelphia as the law enforcement agencies struggled to curb the unrest. Curfews have been imposed on Los Angeles, Philadelphia and Atlanta.
Okay, thank you. Hey, it's Drew. Who was trying to call? Okay, yeah, just can you let everybody know if they can call my personal number?